It is 8:43. Welcome back. It looks like you won't have to wait as long to get a passport, and we'll have that story coming up for you here in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, we do want to move on to this story. We've got Mike Haridopolos, who's going to be joining us to talk to Ryan Elijah about a lot of issues that are going on in our state right now, including the governor race that is heating up. Good morning to the both of you. Ryan, take it away.
Danielle, good morning. Mike, thanks for sticking around. Good to be with you again.
My pleasure.
So let's talk about Florida ports. We know there are some coming this way, but this is not a quick process. They've got to do kind of the cost analysis here. But Governor DeSantis really thinks that this could be a long-term solution.
Yes, it will be. At this point, as we're all seeing, whether it be Long Beach or Los Angeles, massive waits for these massive tankers coming over from Asia. And they're looking at these ports and some of the union rules that come along with it, some, of course, the California regulations. And they're thinking, even though it's a much longer trip, it might be better business to do it right here in Florida, whether it be Jacksonville, Port Miami, or even where I live in Port Canaveral, where this might be a better alternative. Because what's happening at the ports in Los Angeles and Long Beach is that the unions make a lot of the rules. And because of this, you're seeing just now they're making it a 24/7 operation, trying to get these things done for Christmas. So you can go on Amazon or wherever else, make your, of course, picks and get them in time for Christmas. And so this frustration is growing. It means prices will go up either way, and that's never good for consumers as they're facing so many other issues at this point.
Yeah, it's not, because they feel pressured in so many spots. And of course, we've got a huge election next November, the gubernatorial race, where the governor is going to run. And right now there's a field of 3 Democrats. And depending, the polls are going to move a lot. But right now the polls look pretty favorable for the governor.
They sure do. They're in pretty stark contrast to Joe Biden right now. You talked about your magic act prior to this story. There's the incredible disappearing numbers of Joe Biden down to 42%. In contrast, a new poll that just came out in Florida show that people are optimistic about what's going on in Florida. And that's why at this point he has between a 7 and 9 point lead over the 2 major contenders, Charlie Crist and Nikki Fried. Of course, Senator Tadeo just entered the race last week. But right now, polling looks really good. And even better for the governor is fundraising. He has raised over $60 million. In contrast, his opponents have around $3 million in the bank. And so it'll be an uphill battle for Democrats as they're fighting the headwinds, of course, of Joe Biden. And now, of course, the money crunch. And everyone's talking about Ron DeSantis. Could he be the guy in 2024?
Yeah, Mike, let's touch on this real quick. It's hard for the Democrats to raise money because if you're a big donor, you don't want to give to one of these 3 until you know who's clearly going to win. I mean, and that's not going to happen until August. That puts them in a tough bind.
Oh, it really does. Remember that, as we talked about last week together, the more Democrats that enter this race, the more likely a left-leaning Democrat, meaning one of the ones who don't win around the country, could be nominated. And that makes it very difficult. In contrast, Ron DeSantis has no Republican opponent. He's got $60 million in the bank. He's got unlimited time on TV because he's become a national superstar. And so this is a real challenge for Democrats. They really need Joe Biden's numbers to turn around, because once the nominee is picked in August, at least they'll have the presidential fundraising that could take place, and guys like George Soros or Zuckerberg or other persons who have these big bucks might come in and have saved that Democratic nominee so they can stay competitive for the November election next year.
So, Mike, we've got a legislative session that starts in January, but before that, now we're into November, we got a special session coming up. This is for the vaccine policy legislators in Tallahassee for the regular committee meetings as they gear up for the 60-day session in January. What do we look for during that time?
Well, I anticipate quick passage of protecting those people who chose not to get vaccinated and are concerned about being fired on the job. You've already seen the governor lead the fight on saying that kids and parents should decide if they wear a mask at school or not. This is much the same. He's saying, look, he has been a big proponent of saying get vaccinated. But if you don't get vaccinated, especially you're a frontline worker, you have the option not to be vaccinated, and he'll protect your job in the process. It's a choice that he believes every individual has, despite the risk of not being vaccinated. So you'll see this special session November 15th through 19th. You'll see, I think the Republicans in the House and Senate support this measure. It'll probably pass pretty quickly, but it's all designed to give those protections so that people are not required to be vaccinated should they choose not to.
All right, let's finish with this. COVID cases continue to fall. That is certainly a good news. We were in the wrong side of the headlines just a few months ago. Now we're on the other side of the headlines.
Yeah, the great news is that now Florida leads the nation per capita in fighting COVID. And again, I want to stress it, get vaccinated. And that's what the governor's been pushing for. But he also said if you get it, just like the press secretary of the president got over the weekend, COVID, go get those monoclonal antibodies. They're very effective. And if you choose not to be vaccinated, you be very careful because there's a high risk. The great news is that today in my child's school and so many others, they have the option of wearing a mask or not, as opposed to being mandated. It's a changing world, and the good news is that should make the Florida economy even stronger as we're enjoying record budgets this year where education, healthcare, and other programs will be fully funded. So a lot of good news out of Florida this month and hopefully over the next year because the COVID numbers are dramatically down.
Which is certainly news we have waited for quite a while. Mike, got to leave it there. Always great to talk to you. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Ryan. Have a great week.
You as well.
All right.